All right, so I live up here in Bloomington, Indiana. I've lived here about 40 years. So November, mid-November here, we got a lot of rain coming in. You know, it's thundering right now, mid-November. Beautiful out here, but the thunder made me think of I don't know why, but anytime I hear rolling thunder, I think of the South. I think of the Mississippi Delta area. There's like people that aren't from the South may not see it as much or feel it, but there's like a mysticism or romanticism of the South or something like the Delta, Mississippi Delta. And so I've always loved the South, but I mean, I love the West, the Midwest. Well, the Midwest is kind of dreary, but the North, it's all good. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about SEC and college football. We wonder, like the SEC last year. I just have a big question here. In the meaningful games, like had a bad record. The SEC did not do well in the bowls last year. They had a losing record. No. I think they had a winning record, but some of those games were just like, for instance, the Big Ten went 5-1 versus the SEC. Georgia got beat by Notre Dame, so that's in the meaningful games there. You were like what, 1-6? So my question, I guess, is what tangible evidence do we have that we know the SEC deserves so many teams ranked in the top 15 or whatever right now? I mean, there's like 7 teams from the SEC, and this is the way it was last year, and I'm just trying to, maybe I just don't know, but NIL has changed the landscape of everything, and I'm just trying to figure out why the SEC is getting so much love again this year after the debacle they had last year in the playoffs. I think it's a good question. I mean, it could just be like something I don't know because I don't really follow them that close. Maybe they had a great off-season portal. But maybe, maybe they were full of underclassmen last year and they're coming of age this year. I really don't know. Or maybe somebody just wants to say that the SEC had too many opt-outs in the bowls last year, which is not a viable excuse because, for instance, in the Michigan-Alabama game, the SEC or the Michigan had like what, 3 or 4 first-round picks, and they all set out, and they had like double-digit amount of players sitting out for that game. So, I just don't know. I just don't know what evidence we have, tangible, real, true evidence we have at this point that can legitimize the SEC having that many teams, most likely going to the college football playoffs. Like they're going to have more teams in the Big Ten. The team that dominated them last year, the conference that dominated them last year, and the conference that won the last 2 national championships. Which, I'm not even a huge college football fan. I live in Bloomington, Indiana, and we haven't had anything to cheer for except for the last 2 years in the history. So, yeah, that's just my question. And I'm not, it's obvious the SEC over the last 25 years, I mean, they've won 11 or 12 national championships or something like that with 4 or 5 different teams. So it's been crazy, over the last 25 years. But so That's all. I'm not like slamming the SEC or the voters or the college football committee, but I don't know why there's so many SEC teams up there this year. Um, and what do I think about Indiana University? Because I live here in Bloomington, they got too many injuries. Inside and out that team, if you look at everybody that started the year, like they had running back Lee Beebe, he's out. He started the year. He had 200 yards already when he went out. I know it was weak opposition, but I think, you know, he was in the rotation. They had 3 running backs they were using. Then they had Kellen Wyatt, defensive lineman, went out, and he was doing really well as well. He was having a great season. And last 2 games, they've been without their best pass blocking lineman, Drew Evans, and best wide receiver, Elijah Surratt. So these injuries, their roster was already ranked 70th. Like, they were punching above their weight and overachieving as it was, but a team can only do that if they stay healthy for the remainder of the year. They just didn't stay healthy. So I don't look for them to pose a threat to win the college playoffs. Which means basically that's just one Big Ten team that's going to make the playoffs that really isn't a threat. And a lot of people would disagree with me on that. But we'll see it all play out. And don't get me wrong, I live here. I think it'd be great if you could pose a threat to win the championship, but I just don't think that's a reality. It's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. But anyways, that's just trying to figure it out. SEC bias, maybe. I don't know. The SEC might, if they get that many teams in the college football playoffs. I mean, it's almost like it just doesn't make sense to me. I think it's unfair. And a lot of people will say, well, who are you going to put in there? ACC teams? Well, I mean, Georgia Tech almost beat Georgia last year. I know this isn't last year and the landscape changes drastically year by year, but Georgia Tech still has their best player. I mean, and, everyone wants to trash the ACC, but in the games, that kind of counted there, FSU dominated Bama. Miami beat Notre Dame, got a veteran quarterback. So, you trash them all year long, and then you got to face them and play them, and they actually win. It's one of those. It could be one of those types of things. So that's what they're saying. I think. Well, we can't put an ACC team in there. We'll just put more SEC teams in there, and I think that's unfair. There's only one team from each conference that can win the championship. There's only one team, period, that can win the championship. I think they ought to have a rule that no conference can have more than 3 teams in there. So, I know everybody's going to say, well, if the playoffs are about getting the best teams in there, how are you going to say what the best team is? You thought you knew what the best teams were last year when the SEC laid an egg and they were all rated higher than anybody. I don't know. It's a big question. It'd be unfair though if they get 4 SEC teams in there or more. I believe that'd be unfair.